So let's review the current tools. So to me, I see the current tools as two types, right? There's the quantitative, where you add up numbers and it's really severe, whether it's RACE, FAST ED, Cincinnati Hospital Stroke Severity Scale, LAMS, NIH Stroke Scale 8, NIH Stroke Scale 5. There's tons of them. There's quantitative, but then there's qualitative, right? And VAN was the world's first qualitative screen. And then, because it was published and both in abstract and in actual publication before PASS. So FAST VAN out of Canada, which is exactly the same as SNO, which is actually a Stroke Network of Wisconsin scale, which is exactly the same as FAST VAN, which is basically gaze for vision, aphasia, can't name objects, watch and pen, and testing neglect, basically. Even though they call it SNO, it's FAST VAN out of Canada was actually published a year or two before that, also known as the Pomona scale, also known as Ventura County scale. Very similar, right? You're just looking for cortical symptoms. And then ELVO out of Japan, or FAST VAN out of Australia, which you have to have severe unilateral arm weakness, then they test for aphasia, neglect, and gaze. They're all very similar, right? The only difference is with ACT-FAST, they actually ask other questions. Is it less than 6 hours? Was there trauma? Was there seizure? So they're doing a stroke mimic as part of the evaluation, which is very beautiful as well. And then PASS from Denmark as well, which is just, you have to have 2 out of 3 questions. And so it's more of a qualitative versus quantitative. And then there's some scales that are trying to combine both. They're like, for instance, SAVE, which is speech, arm, vision, eyes. You have to have all 4. And so you're adding up numbers, but it's not really severity numbers. They're like, do they have the cortical symptoms, yes or no? And so they want basically 1, 2, 3, 4. They want all the cortical symptoms. And so that's basically it. You have quantitative, qualitative, and the new ones that are trying to combine both. And again, as I said before, if you listen to the other sections, is you can use VAN or this video, teach people how to do the exam, and you can modify it any way you want. And really how I see it is 2 different ways. There's rule out LVO scales and rule in LVO scales. Rule in are the severity, NIH Stroke Scale greater than 10, RACE, a LAMS, a CSTAT. They miss 20 to 65% of large vessel occlusions. Rule out, they perform more like the NIH Stroke Scale of 6. So whether it's FAST VAN, VAN, PASS, SNO, all of these are rule out. And so that you're only going to miss 10 to 30%, right? And so that's how you should look at it. Rule in scales, rule out scales, right? But we know a screening tool should not be ruling in people only, because that means you're missing, as I said, 20 to 70% easily of people that could get worse. Or you're missing LVOs and people that you can help. Again, it's all about what your allocations are, how much resources you have, where you live, which part of the world you're in. But now you know what the difference is. And one of my friends called it VAN mimic scales and RACE mimic scales. It's quantitative versus qualitative. So here's a picture of RACE, and you can see all the different things that it tests. It doesn't test the ability to talk or vision. And again, you basically go through. If you have mild facial droop, you get 1. Moderate to severe, you get 2. For the arm, you get moderate. You get 1. Severe, if it touches, you get 2. Same for the leg. And then you add up all the numbers. If it's greater than 5, then you basically are RACE positive, because you meet the cutoff, right, of greater than or equal to 5. LA Motor Scale is all they test is motor. It's face, grip strength, and then arm, and again it's 0 to 1 for facial present. If drifts down is 1, all the way flaccid or falls rapidly is 2. Grip strength, if it's a little weak, it's 1. If they have no grip, it's 2. And you have to have a 4 or greater. Again, the reason why it works, as you can see on this picture here, is most people with severe weakness do have LVO. But if you go backwards, look at all those LVOs with low NIH stroke scales. See that? See that? And so it works great if you're just worried about the large ones, but if you're really going to try to capture, 70%, 90% of LVOs, you really can't use severity only. Cincinnati Pre-Hospital Stroke Severity Scale, they're testing gaze plus level of consciousness, which is basically following two commands and answering the year and the age, the month and the age correctly, and then arm strength. But this is what's really powerful. I've never seen somebody who has forced gaze, can't talk, and their arms are perfectly fine. I've seen that maybe once in 3,000 cases. And so really, if you think about it, Cincinnati Pre-Hospital Severity Scale, you do have to have some weakness with the cortical symptoms. So under vision, gaze, and under aphasia, right? Because they're asking you to follow commands. So really, if you think about it, it's almost like a modified VAN, because again, if you disagree with me, you see tons of people whose arms are perfectly fine and they have completely forced gaze and aphasia, please let me know. Pretty rare. And so in a sense, it is a modified VAN because you have to have two of those. And again, you hardly ever have forced gaze with aphasia, the inability to talk or follow commands with no arm weakness. That's very rare. Fast ED, exactly the same, almost exactly the same as race, but they don't test leg weakness. Pass, you have to have 2 out of the 3, so you can't, incorrect month or age, gaze, palsy or deviation, and arm weakness. But you see the theme, arm weakness, over and over and over and over and over again in every scale. That's why we use it. It's the best balance between sensitivity and specificity. And we already talked about this. So this is kind of a summary of VAN versus these scales. And you can see I've divided up into motor weakness and cortical symptoms, because that's all it is. So now you know every scale is what? Weakness plus a cortical symptom, right? And you can see that on the slide over here, where they have VAN, RACE, FAST ED, CSTAT, LA Motor Scale, and the VAN mimic scales, or the qualitative scales, whether it's FAST VAN, Pomona, ACT FAST, SNO, same thing. It's weakness, or they're just FAST positive with cortical symptoms.